Hey guys, this year I'm going to be reviewing the Flash 103 titled Things You Can't Outrun. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe for new notifications on. And also, if you want to keep up with the reviews, go watch 103 or rewatch it, and then come back and watch this review. Or just watch a review and then, do whatever. But come back and watch a review no matter what, because, it does support the channel, and yeah. This episode, I think, was the best episode of the series right now. And by that, I mean, or the last 3 episodes, including this one. I think it was better than 102 and the pilot. There were some parts that was like, it could have been better, but overall, it's a good episode. It was a great episode. Getting to Barry and Iris, I mean, the scenes with Barry and Iris in season 1, I don't really care for that much. Because it's not really what it is now, which then again, I don't really care for what it is now. In the later seasons at least, but Iris and Eddie are in a relationship, and Joe found out, which is hilarious, and because they're trying to keep a secret. And Barry's just kind of not sick of Eddie and Iris, but you can tell that he wants to be with Iris. Speaking of Barry wanting to be with someone, Barry and Caitlin, I think this is the first episode, maybe last episode too, but this is the first episode where you could honestly see something happening between Barry and Caitlin if they went down that route. Because if you don't know, they were actually going to go down the route of Barry and Caitlin being the couple in the show instead of Barry and Iris, but Grant wanted Barry and Iris because it's the comics. Which, I mean, kudos to Grant. He wanted to honor the comics and the character and honor Candace's Iris too, which is important. I'm not saying it's not. But in the first 9 episodes, I think it's 9, that or 7, there's subtle hints to Barry and Caitlin. You could see something happening there. Yeah, they're friends, but they could be way more if they really went for it. And I think this is the first episode of the series where I actually kind of showed that. Because Caitlin's dealing with Ronnie dying, her blaming herself, and it led to Barry and Caitlin kind of a really personal conversation, and them making the meta cells and the pipeline cells, whatever you want to call them. But that was the entire premise of the episode of how do we trap these metahumans, because there's a new one in town that turns into gas or poison gas and can kill anyone that he comes in contact with, and they need to come up with that. So it would have been, I mean, granted, the last 2 minutes they fought died, so I guess there wasn't really anything to focus on there more than what we got. And it was brought up that even this meta died. It's how he became a poison gas meta through execution. The one little nitpick I had to say about that was, now I don't know police department records, but if someone dies on death row, wouldn't you still have their records? Their DNA, I mean, granted, that was 9 months ago at the point in time. So, I mean, they could have just tossed him oh, he's dead, it doesn't really matter. But to say that their records aren't at all existing, I don't think that's legit. I mean, looking at the real world, I mean, yeah, sure. Well, I guess it was the real world before 9 months ago. In the show, I mean, the episode time. Whatever. I don't know. It kind of just hit me would that really be how it works? If you're killed on death row, your record's just wiped? I mean, I guess you have no point in living, the record being out there. But, why wouldn't you keep the record in case, another case needs it? If the guy was involved in more cases, wouldn't you want the record to be kept around? Or is that just me? Am I just overthinking it? But it wasn't a big thing. It was just it caught me off guard, because I was wait, why wouldn't they have those records? Granted, it could be how police departments work. I don't know. It's just, again, it caught my attention, and it threw me off. Wells or Thawne, we saw 3 or 4 flashbacks of the particle accelerator going off. We saw this scene from, I believe, the pilot it was, where the Barry got struck by lightning and the accelerator went off. Thawne talking to a bunch of people as Wells, and then them setting off the accelerator, and Thawne, aka Wells, saying that he feels like he's been waiting for this for a century, which, is accurate for Thawne. And which we find out later on in the season why, but we're not talking about that right now, are we? And getting more into Thawne at the end of the episode, I mean, he saw Barry become the Flash. Like, he wanted this. And I think that's why Thawne's such a good villain in season 1. He's a good villain in every season he's in. Especially season 8. I think Thawne's season 8, I know people don't agree with this, but Thawne's season 8 was really, really, really good. I don't know if he was as good as season 1, but he was definitely up there. Like, one of the best ones of the show was season 8 Thawne, in my opinion. And Eric Waltz did an amazing job with him. Bringing that season 1 vibe, but also a new whole vibe to Thawne, which is more scary and more threatening, I think, than season 1 Thawne. But that being said, I think the reason why Thawne season 1 is so threatening is because he did plan all this out. Everything that's happening since Barry became the Flash to season 1 finale, Thawne planned all of it out. He knew exactly what's going to happen. Maybe besides a few things that caught him off guard. But otherwise, the main end goal, Barry becoming faster and Thawne wanting to get back home and nearly succeeding in that. That's what makes Thawne a threatening villain, because he does plan everything out as best he can. And season 1 Thawne really did do that. Now, like season 2, when Thawne showed up, was kind of screwed. I mean, there wasn't really anything they could do in that department to make that Thawne better, because, he wasn't from the future, but not like our Thawne. It was complicated. We'll get into it season 2 when we get to the episode. But, and the meta of the week thing, I like it. My number one issue, again, like I brought up in the last episode that I reviewed, just 102, Barry is just not really using his speed that much in fights. Now, granted, at the end of the episode when you're fighting the Mist, like, he was using his speed. But even then, like, I mean, the first time the Mist stopped doing what he does, and he was like in normal form, you could tell that he was exhausted. Why didn't Barry just go in and punch him? Why wait like 2 minutes for Caitlin to tell him something and then go in? Granted, that's the entire premise of the show, is that Barry needs help. Besides season 8. Season 8 was the only season in this show where Barry didn't rely on someone to tell him how to use his powers correctly. And I get it, he's new with his powers, but Barry's also a scientist. And it could be me nitpicking here, but does Barry think that he can't punch at super speed? Because, like, in the 8th episode, the first crossover, he does punch at super speed. I don't know if he does anytime between then. I don't remember. So we'll find out in 104, 5, 6, and 7. But he'd throw his speed punches all the time. Why did he stop using his speed to throw a punch at a gas meter like 5 times? I get it the first time because he was trying to get a sample. I get it. Although it was probably a much better way to do that than just running in blind. The thing that I guess Oliver didn't teach Barry that yet. Just after episode 8, I'd be having more problems. But, I mean, Barry's still a rookie. He doesn't know what he's doing entirely. That's why he has a team, right? But, look, I will always support the show, and I know I'm nitpicking a little bit. It's just, kind of the mood I'm in today. It's kind of the mood I was in last week, too, when I was watching 102. I was like, knowing what I know now about the show, watching all 9 seasons and all 184 episodes, I think it's fair to say that there will be more nitpicking than, like, if this is back in 2014 and I was doing this content, which I wasn't back then. I didn't start until 2020. But, like when I was reviewing season 7, 8, and 9, or the last 4 years, I think it's important to point out that, like, I was enjoying every episode because it was on. Watching the episode consecutively for 42 minutes at a time and having the ability to rewind I think will cause more nitpicking from me, which isn't bad. I mean, I still love this show, and I always will. That's not going to change anything. But I think I'm going to be more of a nitpicker when it comes to the episodes that I'm rewatching, because I do have the ability to rewind and think long and hard about these scenes. Whereas when episode was on, like I don't know, 902, like I enjoyed 902, like people didn't, because it was just, it wasn't really like story related or anything. It was a random filler episode. But in a lot of ways, I did enjoy 902, but it also helped with commercials, right? You have 42 minutes of an episode consecutively, scenes back to back to back to back, where you can rewind. I think it would open up the doors for nitpicking, as I said already, but I'm repeating again because I don't know everyone listens. So, yeah. That's kind of where I'm coming from. Again, I think it was a great episode, probably a 9 out of 10. Best episode out of the last 3 for me. Or the last 2, I mean. We're on episode 3. So the last 3, we're on episode 4 right now, but we're not. Better than 102 in the pilot, in my opinion. I don't remember much about 104, 5, 6, and 7. I want to say one of them was with Snart, one was with Hartley. Unless that was later in the season. No, it was later in the season because Barry had a new cowl that was like not glued to Grant's face. Which, if you don't know, which I don't know how you don't know by now, but the season 1 cowl for the first 7 episodes of the series, the cowl is glued to Grant's face. That's why it looks weird compared to the now cowl, or this later season 1 through 5 cowl, and then the back from 604 onward. The way we see Grant in the Flash suit is different from the first 7 episodes of the series because the cowl is glued to his head. So that's why it looks weird. And it does kind of throw me off a little bit looking at it. But, they do fix it in 108. I want to say that, or 109. It's 1 to 2. I believe it's 108. I could be wrong. So remember, there would be a discussion about the first crossover featuring the new cowl for Barry and Grant. Barry and Grant and 2 different people. So that Grant didn't have to have a cowl glued to his face. That's what I remember. Could be wrong, but yeah. Rating the episode, probably a 9 out of 10. There were some things, like the Iris stuff I didn't really care for. Was okay, let's get back to the main plot here. But Iris and Eddie, I feel like we're a good couple this episode. Granted, it's the 3rd episode. It's not like we're 10 episodes in. I'm feeling this way. It's 3 episodes in. And, yeah, it was a really good episode. Joe and Barry, I don't know how I forgot about him. Joe almost died to the mist, just like Barry did, too. But, Joe's still working a case on getting Henry out of prison. Barry actually ended up debating breaking his father out of prison because he can now, because he's super fast. He ended up not doing because it would be wrong, obviously. But Joe and Henry had a scene, which is a really good emotional scene between them two, which I think was needed. Where Joe tells Henry that he was reopening the case, and there'll be a way to figure out if they're going to prove Henry's innocence. Which is something that it's kind of ironic because the Flash movie that released 2 weeks ago, or not even a week ago, not 2 weeks ago, a week ago, literally failed to do anything with that properly, at least. So, yep. But yeah, I don't really know what else to discuss. Let me know in the comments down below your opinions about that episode. If you watched it, what you rate it out of 10. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Have a good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.